Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Tuesday, the 30th day of August, 2022, Tuesday of the 22nd week in Ordinary Time. Coming to you this morning from the front of Juniper Hall, our first and kindergarten grades here at the Franciscan School. The great juniper magnolia behind me, and all around me, the crepe myrtles for late summer crepe myrtles have come into bloom and are kind of sort of passing their prime, but still quite lovely, at least from a distance. On this Tuesday of the 22nd week of the year, we continue with Paul's letters to the Corinthians, Paul's first letters to the Corinthians. Interesting points that he makes in this letter that he sends to them. He makes sure that they realize that what they're able to do, how they're able to speak about God, about Christ, about the mission and message that Christ leaves them, is inspired not by their own will, not by their own testimony alone, not by their own desires, but it comes from the Spirit of God, and can only do the work it needs to do because it comes from the Spirit of God. That is what makes Paul's mission effective, he believes. Now, again, sometimes Paul makes a lot of different mistakes, and sometimes Paul doesn't really do what it is that he's supposed to be doing, but hopefully more times than not, he is led by the Spirit of God. Important, I think, to realize too, because again, this is where the question of religion becomes sort of an issue, in the sense that religion can be something that is totally human-made and human-constructed, and if it is not following the Spirit of God, if it is not infused by the Spirit of God, if it is not influenced and led by the Spirit of God, then basically it is telling lies. It's not telling truths. It is giving something that is inappropriate to understanding the mission that Christ gives us and the revelation of the reign of God in our midst. So it is good food to think about in what Paul writes today in the first letter to the Corinthians. How is our words, how are always the words of those who speak to us of God, of Christ, of the mission of Christ, of the mission even of the church? How are they inspired and led by the Spirit? And how are they challenged by the Spirit? And how do they allow the Spirit's wisdom and the Spirit's life to influence our own life here? We move into the Gospel of Luke. Actually, we would have done that yesterday, but it was the beheading of John the Baptist, so we had the special Gospel on him. But today we leave Matthew's Gospel finally, and now we move into Luke's Gospel that will kind of take us into the last part of the year. So Luke's Gospel begins simply with Jesus after he has proclaimed himself in the synagogue in Nazareth, goes to Capernaum, and there in Capernaum meets a man who is possessed by a demon, and again he is able to get rid of the demon, and the demon does all kinds of things, and it's a big spectacle and everything else like that, and the people are amazed that Jesus has power over these demons and is able to expel it from the man and whatever, and his fame or his popularity spreads. Is how the gospel ends, and that has to kind of that has to give us pause, because again, it is not because Jesus has brought again the wisdom of God or the Spirit of God into people's lives. It is not because Jesus has preached anything. It is not because Jesus has helped people realize something about themselves. It is because of a spectacle that has happened. Again, something that is good in a way, expelling the demon from a person. Okay, fine. But again, it's the sensationalism that is spreading his fame. It is the power of that which is unordinary, of that which is strange and supernatural. That is what is causing his fame to spread, and that cannot be the source of his mission. It is not just special events or spectacle that make the gospel take root in our lives, or take root in anyone's life at any time, in any place. It is the transformation of mind and heart. It is how we see ourselves differently, not just as children of God, but also brothers and sisters to each other, and brothers and sisters to Christ. That does not necessarily have to come about because of miraculous deeds and because of fantastic experiences. It comes about when we realize the more about us that sometimes remains hidden in our own fear and our own brokenness and our own sadness. Jesus comes to lift that from our lives, lift that always from what we think we see each other as and who others tell us that we are. The truth always lies in God's Spirit within us that shows us the truth and the wonder and the beauty of who we are. And may the Lord give you his peace.